The house stood on a quiet street, its Dutch colonial architecture a picture of suburban tranquility. The soft glow of twilight bathed the home in a serene light, making it appear as any other peaceful suburban residence. But 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, held a dark secret within its walls, a secret that would forever change the lives of those who dared to enter. A year before the Lutz family arrived, seeking a fresh start and a place to call home, the house bore witness to an unspeakable horror. They were unaware of the sinister events that had unfolded just a year prior. On November 13, 1974, the silence of the night was shattered by the sound of gunshots. The peaceful facade of the house was violently broken. Ronald DeFeo Jr., driven by a motive that remains shrouded in darkness, took the lives of his parents and 4 siblings as they lay sleeping in their beds. The brutality of the act left the community in shock and disbelief. The murder sent shockwaves through the community, leaving an indelible stain on the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. The once quiet street was now a place of mourning and fear. The DeFeo murders weren't simply a tragic event, they were a harbinger of the darkness that awaited the next family to cross the threshold. The house had become a symbol of dread and foreboding. The evil that had taken root in the house, fueled by the bloodshed, was lying in wait, ready to claim its next victims. The walls seemed to whisper of the horrors they had witnessed. The house remained empty, a silent testament to the horrors that had transpired within. Its darkened windows and empty rooms stood as a grim reminder of the past. Neighbors whispered about strange occurrences, cold spots, and unexplained noises emanating from the seemingly abandoned home. The stories only added to the house's eerie reputation. Little did they know that the true horror of 112 Ocean Avenue was far from over. The house's dark history was just the beginning. It was merely waiting for the right opportunity, the right family, to reveal itself once more. The darkness within was patient, biding its time until it could strike again. December 1975. George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, arrived at 112 Ocean Avenue, a place they hoped would be their sanctuary. Eager to start a new chapter in their lives, they were undeterred by the house's grim history, choosing to focus instead on its spacious rooms and beautiful waterfront location. The house seemed perfect, a dream come true. The house was a steal, its price drastically reduced due to the recent tragedy that had occurred within its walls. Blinded by the prospect of a dream home, the Lutzes ignored the warning signs, unaware that they were stepping into a nightmare. The allure of a new beginning overshadowed any doubts. The family settled in, unpacking boxes and making the house their own. They decorated the rooms, filled the shelves, and tried to infuse the space with warmth and love. But something felt off. A palpable chill hung in the air, and an oppressive silence seemed to blanket the house. It was as if the house itself was watching them. Unsettling incidents began to plague the family, subtle at first, easily dismissed as tricks of the imagination. Shadows moved where they shouldn't, and whispers echoed in empty rooms. Doors creaked open on their own, as if guided by unseen hands. Strange, sulfurous odors wafted through the hallways, making the air thick and hard to breathe. The children, especially young Missy, whispered about imaginary friends and unseen presences. They spoke of things that should not be seen or heard. Kathy began to experience vivid nightmares, plagued by visions of the DeFeo murders. Her sleep was haunted by the past horrors of the house. George, a man of logic and reason, tried to rationalize the occurrences, attributing them to stress or the house settling. He checked the foundation, the walls, looking for any logical explanation. But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The house was alive, watching, waiting. Its presence was undeniable, a silent observer of their every move. As the days passed, the disturbances grew in intensity, evolving from unsettling to downright terrifying. Objects moved on their own, and the family could no longer ignore the malevolent force. The Lutzes, once excited about their new home, were now prisoners in a house of horrors. Their dream had turned into a living nightmare. Their dream of a fresh start had morphed into a desperate fight for survival against an unseen and malevolent force. They had to escape, but the house was not willing to let them go easily. The paranormal activity escalated at an alarming rate, leaving the family in a state of constant dread and anxiety. The cold spots intensified, forming icy pockets in specific locations, defying any logical explanation. These chilling areas seemed to move around the house, as if guided by an unseen hand. The faint whispers and creaking floorboards transformed into loud, disembodied voices and heavy footsteps that echoed through the empty halls at night. It was as if the house itself was alive, breathing and speaking in a language of terror. The Lutzes were living in a constant state of fear, their nerves frayed by the relentless onslaught of unexplained phenomena. Every creak, every whisper, every cold draft sent shivers down their spines. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, the dining room grew icy cold. The temperature dropped so suddenly and drastically that their breath became visible in the air. A putrid odor like that of decaying flesh filled the air, causing the children to gag. The stench was so overpowering that it seemed to cling to their clothes and skin. Suddenly, the heavy oak table began to shake violently, as if an invisible hand was trying to overturn it. The dishes rattled and clattered, threatening to shatter at any moment. Terrified, the family fled the room, seeking refuge in the supposed safety of their bedrooms. But even there, the sense of dread followed them, offering no respite. But there was no escaping the terror that had permeated every inch of the house. The malevolent presence seemed to be everywhere, watching and waiting. Kathy woke in the middle of the night to find her bed levitating, rising slowly off the ground as an unseen force held her captive. She could feel the cold, clammy grip of fear tightening around her heart. George, awakened by her screams, could only watch in horror as his wife was tormented by an entity he couldn't explain or fight. His helplessness only added to the terror. The children, too, were targets of the house's malevolence. Their once safe haven had turned into a nightmare. Missy, her innocent eyes now clouded with fear, spoke of a demonic, pig-like creature that visited her at night, its glowing red eyes burning into her soul. She described it with a chilling accuracy that left her parents speechless. The once playful laughter of children had been replaced with whimpers of terror, their innocence stolen by the horrors they witnessed. The house had become a prison of fear, with no escape in sight. The Lutzes found themselves trapped in a waking nightmare. The once welcoming home had transformed into a prison of fear, every corner holding the potential for another terrifying encounter. The family was under constant assault, their sanity stretched to the breaking point. Sleep offered no respite, only a continuation of the horrors that plagued their waking hours. George, once a beacon of strength for his family, found himself slowly unraveling. He became withdrawn, his temper short, his eyes reflecting the same fear that haunted his family. The house was changing him, twisting him into a version of himself he barely recognized. He began to feel an overwhelming urge to feed the evil that surrounded them, drawn to the darkness that permeated the house. Kathy, her spirit nearly broken by the relentless paranormal activity, clung desperately to her faith. She prayed for deliverance, for a way out of the nightmare that had engulfed her family. But her pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears, lost in the cacophony of the house's evil. The children, their innocence shattered, retreated further into themselves. Their once bright eyes were now dull with fear, their laughter replaced with a chilling silence. The house had stolen their childhood, leaving behind only the scars of terror. As we delve deeper, the true essence of the terror begins to unravel. It's here, in the heart of the horror, that the shadows grow darker and the whispers grow louder. Every step taken feels like a descent into madness. The air is thick with an unspoken dread, and the walls seem to close in, suffocating any hint of hope. This is where the brave falter and the strong question their resolve. Can you feel it? The pulse of fear, beating louder with each passing moment. Welcome to the heart of the horror. The Lutz family, overwhelmed by the terrifying experiences, decided they could no longer stay in the house. In the dead of night, they packed their belongings and fled, leaving behind their dream home and the horrors that came with it. The story of the Lutz family's ordeal quickly spread, captivating the public's imagination. Books, movies, and documentaries followed, each adding to the legend of the Amityville Horror. But with the growing fame came growing skepticism. Many began to question the authenticity of the Lutz family's claims. Skeptics argued that the horror story was a fabrication, a hoax designed to profit from the tragedy that had occurred in the house years earlier. So, was the Amityville house truly haunted, or was it all an elaborate hoax? The debate continues to this day, with believers and skeptics both holding firm to their views. In the end, the Amityville Horror remains one of the most enduring mysteries in the realm of the paranormal.